Tom walked beside Rex through the airport security lane with steady steps and a calm face. Rex was a trained police dog with a sharp nose and a gentle discipline that made other officers trust him. The morning crowd moved in waves as rolling suitcases clicked on the floor and loudspeaker messages floated above the noise. People lined up with tickets in hand and tired eyes, while families hugged and travelers checked the time again and again. Tom kept his hand light on the leash and watched Rex scan the air with quiet focus. Officer Leo stood near the checkpoint watching the flow of bags and faces, and he gave Tom a small nod as they passed. Nothing felt strange at first, and the day looked like every other shift in a busy place. Rex guided Tom along the edge of the arrival hall where unattended luggage was common for a moment and then quickly claimed. A cleaning worker pushed a cart by, and a couple argued softly near a cafe, and a child pointed at the flight board. Tom noticed a dark suitcase near a pillar, placed slightly away from the main path. It did not look special, and it did not look new, and it did not carry bright tags that made it easy to spot. It sat still as people passed it, and nobody reached for its handle. Tom made a note in his mind because abandoned bags always deserved attention. Rex slowed down near the pillar, and his ears lifted as if he had heard a sound nobody else could hear. Tom felt the leash tighten slightly as Rex leaned toward the suitcase. Rex stopped fully, and his body became rigid in a way Tom had learned to respect. A low bark came from Rex, short and firm, and it cut through the noise like a warning bell. Travelers nearby turned their heads, and a few stepped back without knowing why. Tom raised his hand to signal the nearest officer, and his voice stayed controlled as he asked for space to be cleared. Rex barked again and did not move away from the suitcase. Tom tried a soft command to redirect him, but Rex held his position and stared at the bag with intense focus. It was not the frantic barking that came with panic, and it was not the aggressive barking that came with anger. It was a purposeful bark that carried urgency, like a message that could not wait. Officer Leo approached quickly with 2 security staff members, and his eyes moved from Rex to the suitcase and then to the surrounding crowd. He ordered the area to be held and asked officers to guide people away calmly. The crowd listened because uniforms and serious faces changed the mood in an instant. Some travelers complained about delays, but most obeyed without argument when they saw the dog refusing to back off. Leo asked Tom what Rex was signaling, and Tom said Rex was locked on the suitcase and would not disengage. Leo asked if Rex had reacted like this before, and Tom said Rex was reliable and rarely made a mistake. Leo took a breath and called for the inspection team, because protocol mattered even when time felt heavy. The suitcase sat under the bright terminal lights, and the space around it grew wider as barriers formed. Tom knelt beside Rex and placed a steady hand near the dog's shoulder. Rex kept his eyes fixed, and his chest moved with a controlled rhythm, but there was a faint whine under the bark that Tom did not like. Tom had worked with Rex long enough to sense small changes, and this felt different from a typical alert. Rex was not just warning, and he was not trying to chase something away. He looked as if he was guarding the suitcase from the crowd, like the bag held something that needed protection. Tom spoke quietly, using the calm tone he used when Rex needed to stay centered. Rex did not relax, but he did lower his head slightly as if listening. Tom studied the bag again and tried to spot any clues, such as tags, marks, or signs of damage. The suitcase looked ordinary, and that ordinary look made it more troubling, because true risk often hid behind normal details. The inspection team arrived with measured steps, carrying tools and equipment, and their leader gave Leo a brief report about the plan. Leo explained Rex's reaction and asked them to proceed with maximum care. The team checked the area again and looked at nearby cameras for quick context, but the footage review would take time. One officer used a loud voice to remind everyone to stay behind the barriers. The crowd watched in silence now, with phones in hands and worry in faces, and Tom disliked how quickly fear could spread. Rex remained planted, and when the team moved closer, he barked once more and then sat, still facing the suitcase. Tom noticed Rex's posture shift into something like insistence, like he was telling them to act but to do it gently. Leo saw the same thing and raised his hand to slow the team down for a moment. Leo walked closer to Tom and asked him to describe Rex's behavior in detail. Tom explained that Rex was barking but also whining softly, and that the dog was positioning himself between the suitcase and the crowd. Leo listened and looked at Rex with careful attention. Then he signaled to the inspection leader that they should open the suitcase with added caution. The leader agreed and chose a method that would not jolt the bag or tip it abruptly. One officer used gloved hands to steady the suitcase while another reached for the zipper with a tool that allowed distance. The sound of the zipper moving felt loud in the quiet space, and Tom could hear his own breathing. Rex held still but trembled slightly, and Tom felt a knot in his chest. This moment had weight, because whatever was inside would change the story of the day. The suitcase opened slowly, and the top lifted just enough for a narrow look inside. The inspection leader paused, then adjusted the opening to see more without forcing it. At first there was only darkness and folded fabric, and then a small movement caught the light from above. Rex made a short bark, then sat even straighter as if confirming that the team had reached the right place. Tom leaned forward slightly but stayed behind the safety line. Leo moved closer and saw what the team saw, and his face changed from caution to shock and then to urgent focus. Inside the suitcase, wrapped in blankets and clothing, was a small child, weak and barely moving. The child's eyes fluttered, and the child's breathing was shallow but present, and that was the most important thing in the world at that second. Everything shifted from fear to action, and Leo called for medical help with a firm voice. Officers cleared more space, and the inspection leader carefully lifted the blankets to allow air and light without exposing the child too quickly. Tom stayed close to Rex, and Rex did not bark now, because the message had been delivered. Rex let out a soft whine and leaned forward just enough to sniff, then sat again beside the suitcase, steady and protective. Tom felt his throat tighten because the dog had not been warning them about a threat alone, but about a life that needed saving. The crowd behind the barriers reacted with gasps and murmurs, and some people covered their mouths in disbelief. Leo ordered the terminal staff to keep the area controlled and to prevent filming near the child, because the child deserved privacy and safety. Medics arrived quickly with a stretcher and supplies, and their calm efficiency brought a small sense of relief. They checked the child's condition and began gentle care right there, speaking in soft voices and keeping the child warm. The child made a faint sound and tried to move, and one medic reassured the child in simple words. Tom watched Rex closely, and Rex watched the child with quiet attention like a guardian who refused to look away. Leo directed another team to start reviewing cameras and to trace how the suitcase arrived and who left it. Officers began asking nearby workers what they had seen, and every detail suddenly mattered. Tom stayed kneeling beside Rex, rubbing the dog's shoulder with steady strokes. Rex remained calm now, but his eyes stayed alert, as if he wanted to be sure the child would not be left alone again. When the medics lifted the child onto the stretcher, Rex rose and stepped forward once, then stopped on Tom's command. Tom whispered praise to Rex, not loud and not dramatic, just honest. Leo watched the scene and nodded, because this was the kind of moment that reminded officers why they trained and why they stayed sharp. The stretcher moved toward a medical room, surrounded by staff, and the crowd stayed behind barriers, still and quiet. The suitcase remained open and empty now, just a shell that had carried a secret across a busy floor. Tom looked down at Rex and felt grateful and shaken at the same time. Rex had turned a normal patrol into a rescue, and a few minutes had made the difference between loss and life. Tom stood up slowly, and Rex leaned into his leg for a moment, then looked back toward the path the stretcher had taken. The airport noise began to return in small waves, but the day would never feel normal again. After the stretcher disappeared down the long corridor, the airport did not return to normal the way people expected it to. Officers stayed alert, and quiet conversations replaced loud announcements. Travelers moved again, but slower now, as if the air itself had changed. Tom stood beside Rex near the cleared area, watching medics through the glass doors at the far end. Rex sat close to his leg, calm but focused with eyes that followed every motion. Leo returned after giving orders to his team and paused beside Tom with a serious look. He thanked Tom quietly and said Rex had done something rare and important. Tom nodded but kept his eyes on Rex because the dog was still working in his own way. The suitcase was moved to a secure room where officers photographed every detail. It looked ordinary from the outside and empty now, but it carried heavy meaning. Leo assigned officers to track camera footage step by step starting from the moment the suitcase entered the terminal. Screens lit up with images of crowds and moving shapes. Hours were compressed into fast motion and then slowed again when needed. Officers traced the path of the bag from the entrance through the hall until it was placed near the pillar. A single figure appeared briefly on the screen, leaving the suitcase and walking away without looking back. The face was unclear, but the movement was rushed and uneasy. Leo watched the screen closely, knowing this trail mattered just as much as the rescue. Tom and Rex were asked to remain nearby in case Rex needed to assist again. Tom took Rex to a quiet corner and gave him water while gently checking his paws and posture. Rex drank slowly and stayed calm, but his ears flicked toward every sound. Tom spoke softly to Rex using praise and steady words. He knew Rex could sense the weight of the moment, even without understanding the details. Rex leaned into Tom's leg for a second, then sat upright again, alert and ready. Other officers walked past and gave Rex respectful looks. The bond between handler and dog was visible without words. In the medical room, the child received care under careful hands. Doctors worked methodically, checking breathing temperature and response. The child was weak but stable, and that brought relief to everyone involved. A nurse wrapped the child in warm blankets and spoke gently using simple, reassuring words. The child opened their eyes briefly and then closed them again, exhausted but safe. Leo received updates and passed them on to Tom, who let out a slow breath he did not realize he had been holding. Rex seemed to sense the good news and relaxed his shoulders slightly, though he stayed alert. As time passed, officers interviewed workers and travelers who had been near the pillar. Some remembered seeing the suitcase but assumed it belonged to someone stepping away briefly. Others remembered nothing at all, which showed how easily something serious could hide in plain sight. Leo gathered his team and reminded them to stay focused and calm. This case required patience and care because emotions were high. The goal was to protect the child and find answers without causing panic. Leo also ordered privacy measures so the child would not become a public spectacle. Tom took Rex for a short walk through a quieter hallway to help him reset. The hallway lights were softer and the noise was low. Rex walked with smooth steps and kept his head level, scanning the air. Tom thought about how close the moment had been and how easily it could have gone unnoticed. He remembered Rex's first bark and how different it felt from other alerts. That difference had saved a life. Tom felt a deep respect for Rex that went beyond training. Rex was not just following commands but responding with instinct and care. Back in the operations room, Leo reviewed more footage with analysts. The figure who left the suitcase appeared again on another camera, moving toward an exit. The walk was fast and the shoulders were tense. Officers marked the time and direction and sent details to external teams. The investigation widened beyond the airport as information moved through proper channels. Leo stayed composed but firm because every minute mattered. He knew the priority was the child's safety and well-being above all else. Tom returned with Rex to the main hall when called. Leo informed him that Rex would be recognized formally later, but for now his role was not finished. There could still be traces or clues Rex might help locate. Tom agreed without hesitation because Rex was still in working mode. Rex sniffed the floor near the pillar again and then followed a faint path toward a nearby service door. Officers watched closely as Rex traced the scent calmly and clearly. The trail led only a short distance before fading, but it confirmed the path seen on camera. Leo thanked Rex with a quiet nod, understanding the value of that confirmation. As evening approached, the airport lights took on a warmer tone. Travelers continued their journeys, carrying stories they would tell later. Some spoke in hushed voices about the dog and the suitcase and the child. Others simply felt grateful without knowing all the details. Tom sat with Rex near the security office, giving him rest and light food. Rex ate calmly and rested his head on his paws, but his eyes stayed half open. Tom watched him and felt pride mixed with concern. Moments like this left marks even on trained animals. Late in the shift, Leo returned with final updates for the day. The child would remain under care and protective services were involved. Investigators had leads and would continue working through the night. Leo told Tom that Rex had done exactly what he was trained to do and more. Tom thanked Leo but said Rex deserved the credit. Leo smiled slightly and agreed. Rex lifted his head, as if he understood his name being spoken. When the shift ended, Tom led Rex out of the terminal into the cool night air. The lights reflected on the glass walls behind them. Rex walked beside Tom, steady and quiet. Tom looked back once at the building, knowing this day would stay with him forever. Rex paused briefly and looked back as well, then continued walking. Somewhere inside the building a child was safe, because a dog refused to ignore a silent suitcase. And that truth carried more weight than any medal or praise. Morning arrived quietly, but the weight of the previous day still rested over the airport and everyone connected to the case. Tom returned early with Rex walking beside him, steady and alert as always. The terminal looked normal again, with lines forming and announcements echoing, but the memory of the suitcase had not faded. Officers greeted Tom with respectful nods and a few soft words of praise. Rex received gentle pats and calm smiles because people understood his role now. Tom kept his focus forward, knowing the work was not finished yet. Inside the medical wing, the child rested under careful watch, surrounded by machines that hummed softly. Doctors checked progress and shared calm updates with protective staff. The child was stronger now, opening eyes longer and responding to voices. A nurse spoke gently and offered water in small sips. The child looked confused but no longer fearful. Leo visited briefly, standing at a respectful distance and listening to reports. He reminded everyone that patience mattered just as much as speed. The child needed safety, not questions. Investigators worked through the night and into the morning, reviewing footage and gathering information. The figure seen leaving the suitcase appeared again on an outside camera near the parking area. The movement was hurried and unsteady, as if the person carried heavy thoughts. Officers traced vehicle records and nearby transit points. Each detail was logged carefully because small facts could lead to big answers. Leo coordinated teams calmly, keeping the focus steady. He knew pressure could cause mistakes and mistakes could cost trust. Tom was asked to bring Rex to assist near the parking area. Rex walked confidently, nose low, following faint traces left behind. Tom stayed close, letting Rex lead while keeping him calm. The scent trail moved across concrete and faded near a bus stop. Rex paused, sniffed again, and then sat, signaling the end of the trail. Officers marked the spot and thanked Tom and Rex. Even confirmation of an endpoint mattered because it narrowed the search. News inside the airport spread quietly through staff conversations. People spoke with respect, not excitement. Many felt shaken, realizing how close danger had been without anyone noticing. Cleaning workers, security staff, and shop owners shared small memories of the suitcase. Some felt guilt for not questioning it sooner. Leo addressed staff later, reminding them that awareness grows through learning, not blame. He praised everyone for acting quickly once the signal was clear. Tom spent time with Rex in a quiet room away from noise and crowds. He brushed Rex slowly and checked his breathing and posture. Rex leaned into the care, relaxed but attentive. Tom spoke softly, telling Rex he did good work. Rex wagged his tail once and rested his head on the floor. Tom understood that dogs carried stress differently and needed calm after intense moments. The bond between them deepened in silence. Later that day, protective services began preparing for the child's next steps. Family connections were checked carefully and support plans were formed. The child would not leave care until safety was guaranteed. Nurses reported improved strength and better breathing. The child even asked quietly where they were. A nurse answered with calm words, saying they were safe now. That single sentence carried great meaning. Leo gathered his core team for a briefing. Leads were developing, but nothing final yet. The priority remained the child and preventing anything similar in the future. Leo announced a review of unattended bag procedures and awareness training. He also noted Rex's alert had shown the value of trusting trained instincts. The team agreed and took notes. No one treated this as routine anymore. Tom and Rex returned briefly to the main hall for visibility and reassurance. Travelers noticed Rex and some smiled or whispered thanks. Rex walked calmly, ignoring attention and staying focused. Tom felt proud but grounded. He knew Rex would repeat the same action without praise if needed. That consistency defined true service. In the afternoon, Leo received word that the child would likely recover fully. The medical team felt confident. That news lifted a heavy weight from everyone involved. Tom shared the update with Rex, though he did not know if Rex understood the words. Rex responded by standing and stretching, then sitting again, alert. Tom smiled quietly because somehow it felt like Rex did understand. As evening approached, the investigation teams continued their work outside the airport. Leo stayed late coordinating calls and reports. He paused once, looking at a still image of Rex beside the suitcase captured on a security camera. The image showed focus and calm in the middle of chaos. Leo saved the image, knowing it would represent the case for him forever. Tom prepared to end his shift once more. He led Rex outside where the air was cooler and quieter. The day felt long but meaningful. Rex walked beside him, steady and composed. Tom thought about how quickly normal life could hide serious danger, and how important awareness truly was. He also thought about how a dog had made the difference when humans almost missed it. Before leaving, Tom received a final message from Leo saying Protective Services had approved the next care step for the child. Tom closed his eyes for a moment, letting relief wash over him. Rex sat beside him and looked up, waiting. Tom placed a hand on Rex's head and whispered thanks. Rex wagged his tail gently and stood ready to walk on. The airport lights faded behind them as they left for the night. Inside, a child slept safely, watched over by caring hands. Outside, a handler and a dog moved forward together, ready for whatever came next. The story was not over yet, but hope had taken its place at the center. The final days of the case moved quietly but with purpose as the airport returned to its usual rhythm while work continued behind the scenes. Tom arrived each morning with Rex and felt a steady calm replace the tension that once filled the halls. Officers greeted them with respect that felt earned rather than spoken. Rex walked with the same steady pace as always, scanning the space without hesitation. Life at the terminal went on, but something had changed in how people looked at their surroundings. Awareness now lived in small pauses and careful glances. The child remained under protective care and continued to grow stronger with each passing day. Doctors confirmed recovery was progressing well and that long-term harm was unlikely. Nurses spoke softly and treated the child with patience and warmth. The child smiled for the first time during a morning check, which lifted spirits across the unit. That simple smile carried hope beyond words. Leo visited again and thanked the medical team for their dedication. He reminded them that their quiet work mattered as much as the rescue itself. Investigators closed in on the truth step by step without rushing. Leads connected slowly and responsibly through proper channels. The person responsible was identified and removed from the situation without public drama. Protective Services ensured the child would never return to unsafe conditions. Leo made sure privacy was respected and that the story remained focused on care rather than blame. Justice moved forward calmly without spectacle. At the airport, new procedures were introduced with training sessions and clear guidance. Staff learned how to notice unattended items and how to respond without fear. Leo led one session himself, using calm examples rather than strict warnings. He spoke about trust and teamwork and the value of listening when something feels wrong. Rex was present during one session, sitting quietly beside Tom. His presence alone reminded everyone of what mattered. Recognition came later in a simple gathering without cameras or noise. Rex received a special commendation and Tom stood beside him, feeling proud but grounded. Leo spoke briefly, thanking Rex for following his instincts and Tom for trusting his partner. The room applauded softly and sincerely. Rex accepted the attention with calm eyes and a gentle tail wag. To him, it was just another day of work. Tom noticed changes in himself after everything settled. He paid closer attention to small details and trusted his instincts more deeply. He spent more time caring for Rex after shifts, brushing him and walking him longer. Rex seemed content, steady, and balanced. Their bond felt stronger, shaped by shared experience. Words were never needed between them. Travelers continued to pass through the airport unaware of how close danger had once been. Some remembered the story and spoke about it quietly. Others only felt a sense of safety without knowing why. Tom and Rex walked among them doing their job with quiet dedication. The routine mattered because routine kept people safe. One evening Tom paused near the pillar where the suitcase had once rested. The space looked ordinary, now clean and bright. He remembered Rex stopping there and refusing to move. That moment replayed clearly in his mind. He placed a hand on Rex's shoulder and felt steady gratitude. Rex looked up briefly, then back to the flow of people. Leo completed his final report late one night, summarizing the case with careful words. He included lessons learned and steps taken to improve safety. He ended the report with a simple line about trust and attention. He saved it and turned off the lights, knowing the work had meaning. As weeks passed, the story faded from headlines but not from memory. Tom and Rex continued their patrols day after day. Somewhere beyond the airport, the child began a new chapter surrounded by care and protection. Life moved forward quietly but with stronger roots. Sometimes safety came from machines and rules. Sometimes it came from a loyal dog who refused to look away.